Hour 3 live in Los Angeles. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. Joy Taylor joining us. By the way, I'll take the New York Giants and the points tonight. That was one of my Blazing 5 picks. We already had a winning week. We're 3-1 over the Atlanta Falcons. I have a rule in the NFL. So whenever I get my picks every week, the first thing I look at is find me a team that got humiliated the week before. This is not college football. The difference between the great teams and the bad teams, I mean, Carolina and the New York Giants, yesterday Carolina looks great at the end of the game. They looked terrible for the first 3 quarters, and the New York Giants had Carolina beat, and they had the Houston Texans beat. So watch the Giants tonight because the world's caving in and everybody's telling them they're terrible. Watch how well they play tonight. I'll give you one next week. So everybody's crushing Jacksonville. Everybody is burying the Jaguars. Watch them host the Philadelphia Eagles and watch the Jaguars play great next week at home against Philadelphia. There's a game in London. That's going to be a field goal game either way. That's already the Vegas line, is that in the NFL, it's the opposite of college football. When a team wins or loses big, if a team gets crushed in college football, you're like, they're bad, and it gets worse. If a team wins big, they don't get overconfident. They got better players. But in the NFL, it is so hard to win in this league. I mean, the difference between if you take the 28th team and the 8th team, it's 1 penalty. I mean, look at the scores of the NFL game. So watch the Giants play very well tonight, or as well as they can play with Eli. And I pick them to win. And then, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, Washington went down to New Orleans and got humiliated on Monday Night Football, and the Redskins looked awful, and everybody buried them. They came back, and they beat Carolina, and they beat Dallas. So go against your natural instincts in the NFL, which is to give up on teams. No, race to teams that play like crap. Jacksonville next week in London is going to give the Eagles everything they can handle, and I like the Giant tonight against Atlanta. 15 minutes from now, former Patriot quarterback Scott Zolak stops by our show to talk about the New England system that beat Chicago in a crazy game in Chicago. Well, let's start with this, though. The Cowboys, how about them Cowboys? Their comeback hit the upright. Clang. So let me start there. Teams tend to take the personality often of their cities or their owner. Every great Laker team has had some flash. Showtime's their slogan, too. We play for ties here. Dallas, what was that? You got the most aggressive owner in a hyper-aggressive city, and you have become a passive football team. I mean, whatever the opposite of gunslinger is, how about traffic cop? Whatever. Brett Favre is a gunslinger. Jason Garrett's a traffic stop. Watch your way. Walk slowly. Look both ways. Don't get in trouble. What's going on here? You had over a minute left. Alex Smith did you a favor, stepped out of bounds, saved you a timeout. Over a minute. Have Dak. Got good field position. You were playing for a tie. 12 seconds left. You never made a shot at the end zone. Jerry Jones is the most aggressive owner in the NFL. Dallas is as aggressive, anti-regulation as any city in the United States. I don't want to hear about snap infractions. I don't want to hear about the clang as the ball hit the post. I don't care about that stuff. That final drive, you were playing for a tie. 12 seconds to go at the 31, never took a shot at the end zone. And by the way, if you don't trust Dak, and it looks like you don't trust Dak, you got the wrong quarterback. I mean, you keep telling me you like Dak, but you're not showing me that with your actions. When I watch Dallas play, people say a lot. I don't do this. I do this. You know what I look at? Actions. That's what I care about. What do you do, not what you say? Jason Garrett keeps telling me he loves Dak. Jerry Jones, I love Dak. I watch you play late. You don't love Dak. You don't trust Dak. Jason Garrett's a traffic cop. Dak, look left, look right, walk slowly, slow down, go back to the curb. Dak, don't, New England goes for it. Philadelphia, I got my issues, but Carson Wentz, they go for it. Carolina yesterday, we go for it. You can tell me how much you like Dak, but I'm watching your actions. The most aggressive owner in the most aggressive city in the NFL. But, I mean, you're playing for ties here. And by the way, Tony Romo, whenever Tony Romo does Cowboy games, it's not a good look for Dak Prescott because Tony Romo knows the truth. This is the same playbook. This is the same playbook. So when Dallas pulls out a play, he knows where the play should go.
From the pocket, ball tipped and incomplete.
Well, this one, Dak's got to pull the trigger. Watch Beasley on a slant. Right there. That's a big play. And he's the number one option on that play. And he just hesitated and went back to Swaim.
Yeah. Jason Garrett's not a go for a guy. Dak doesn't want to throw the ball down the field. You know, don't mess with Texas. Isn't that what they say? Don't mess with Texas. New motto. If you wouldn't mind, we'd like to play for a tie. Does that offend you? We're going to settle here for this and settle here for that. And, I mean, you're watching that game. Look at who have been Cowboy legends. Aggressive Michael Irvin. Aggressive Tony Romo. Aggressive Roger Staubach. Aggressive Jimmy Johnson. Aggressive Barry Switzer. Aggressive Jerry Jones. Aggressive Bill Parcells. I mean, this is a passive, look both ways, no risk, drop it off underneath offense. And you're not beating the Rams, and you're not going to beat the Eagles, and you're not going to beat the Vikings, and you're not going to beat the Saints, and this weekend you're not going to beat Carolina that way. And stop telling me you trust Love Dak, because I don't see it. You're saying it, but I don't see it. You know, there were really a lot of great games. Baltimore and New Orleans. I still love both teams. I mean, to me, the Ravens and the Saints are potential Super Bowl teams. Just because you lose in this league doesn't mean I'm out on you. Okay? I thought I watched the Ravens yesterday and the Saints. I still love both teams. Again, that's just two great teams. It's a coin flip. If you told me the Saints and the Ravens end up in the Super Bowl, would not be shocked. I said before the season, Ravens, my dark horse Super Bowl team, watch them after Thanksgiving when they get these rookie tight ends and these receivers in place. I really like Baltimore. I thought they outplayed New Orleans for a big chunk of the game. By the way, I watched Philadelphia and Carolina. I like both teams here. I like both teams. But when you win the Super Bowl and you're an organization that hasn't won a lot of Super Bowls, as in none, and you win one, you got a lot of people grabbing at you. And this is what I said. New England has won so many Super Bowls. And that city between the Celtics and the Bruins and the Red Sox and the Patriots, there's a lot of championships in Boston. So when you win it, it's expected, and it's not like it's anything new. But when Philadelphia won a Super Bowl or that one World Series or the Iverson team gets to the finals, the city goes crazy. And it is harder to keep your focus. I'm not blaming anybody. But when I watch the Eagles, Carson Wentz, they won a Super Bowl without Carson Wentz, without Jordan Hicks, without Jason Peters. And there is this sense in the room, nobody says it. It's like, well, we won without those guys. Maybe you don't work out quite as long, quite as hard. Just the details aren't as tight yet with the Eagles. And James Harrison, who won a couple of Super Bowls with the Steelers, talked about the hangover. He faced it and dealt with it twice.
They're not the same as last year. Like you said, you know, it's a difference between being the underdog. You got something that you're trying to get, you know, you're getting off your check. You're trying to prove someone wrong. Now you're the measuring stick. You're the team that everybody is going to measure themselves against. They probably didn't get started till OTAs. You know, guys are celebrating. You got, you know, so many engagements that everybody wants to see the Super Bowl champion at. We had the same thing in 2005 and 2008. Those 2 years, we didn't even make the playoffs after that. Now, the year that we went in 2010 and lost to Green Bay, we made the playoffs that next year. Why? Because we lost. We had something to prove.
It's a real thing. I like Philadelphia a lot. And I was told this a decade ago by somebody in the NFL. If you've got an A owner, an A GM, an A coach, and an A quarterback, you're a Super Bowl contender every year. And the Eagles have all of that. I love Lurie's a good owner. Howie Roseman's a great GM. Doug Peterson's a really good coach, and Carson Wentz is terrific. So they have all that. But with all that, never forget this. 6 of their 7 games this year, 1 possession. 9 of their last 11 games, 1 possession. That Super Bowl with Brady and that home playoff game with Atlanta both came down to 1 play. That's why when Belichick says no days off, everybody rolls their eyes. That's the reality of the NFL. You are winning and losing games on a flag. When Belichick did that, everybody just mocked Bill Belichick for saying this. Remember?
No days off. No days off. No days off.
So again, you laugh at that, but in college football, if you win in February in recruiting, then you win 80% of your games. In the NFL, the best teams get the worst draft picks. So you actually get punished in the NFL. Oh, you won? You get a lousy draft pick. And no days off, you can roll your eyes at it, but if you want days off, coach college. In college, you win a national title, you get an even better recruiting class. Kentucky, Duke wins a national title, you get even more good players. In the NFL, you get worse ones, worse draft picks. Teams don't want to trade with you. Nobody wants to do trades with the Super Bowl champs. No, I don't want to get embarrassed. That's why Belichick has to keep going to the Browns to make trades and the Bills. Coming up next, a former Patriot joining us, talking about what was a wild game in Chicago. I got to tell you, Bears lost. There is a lot to like about the Chicago Bears. That's next. It's The Herd.